guy, Don Blankenship, who used to run a coal company called Massey Energy, which I know is surprising because he does look more like the butler for a family of ghosts. Now, we've actually discussed Blankenship before on this show, specifically the fact that one of his company's mines had an explosion in 2010 that killed 29 workers. And while Blankenship denies responsibility, he was convicted of conspiring to violate federal safety standards in the wake of that disaster and subsequently served a year in prison. And if you think that he would want to steer away from any talk of what I just said in his ads, think again.
Did you know Don Blankenship's trial was not about the mine explosion?
Really? You sure?
Oh, yeah. The Obama judge wouldn't even let Don mention the explosion, and the Obama prosecutors knew Don had nothing to do with the explosion.
West Virginians knew that Obama was against them and coal. Now they understand what happened when Don fought back.
I'm voting for Don.
Now that I know the whole truth, me too.
Cool. Now, of all the insane things in that ad, from that man clearly drinking from an empty coffee mug to the term Obama judge, perhaps the weirdest is that all those two people seem to need to know in order to vote for Blankenship is that he didn't blow up a mine. That's it. They may as well have said, is Don Blankenship the Golden State Killer? No, they caught that guy. Well, that's all I need to know. I'm voting for Don. Cheers. And if Blankenship wants to distance himself from that mine explosion, it frankly doesn't help that he talks about it all the time. In fact, he released another ad this week, this time adding on a bizarre swipe at Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. And I will warn you, this man is dangerously charismatic.
Politicians have run a lot of crazy ads. They blew up the coal mine and then put me in prison. Now they're running ads that say the coal mine blew up and I went to prison. There's no surprise there. But if you want jobs, if you want to end the drug epidemic and you want to protect the unborn, you need to vote for me. One of my goals as U.S. Senator will be to ditch Cocaine Mitch. When you vote for me, you're voting for the sake of the kids.
Yeah, he called Mitch McConnell Cocaine Mitch, which is a far more badass name than this man deserves. It'd be like if we started calling her Julie Skullfucker Andrews. I just don't think the name works. Now, as for where Cocaine Mitch comes from, it is both complicated and extremely dumb. Essentially, it's got something to do with the fact that McConnell's father-in-law, James Chow, owns a shipping company, and cocaine may have been found on one of his company's ships. That's basically it. But Blankenship is clearly concerned about Chow because he made headlines recently saying, I have an issue when the father-in-law is a wealthy China person, which on one hand is pretty racist, but on the other hand, it's also impressively gender neutral. So maybe that should be his campaign platform, Don Blankenship bringing racism into the 21st century. But far from backing down from that term, Blankenship defended it in his signature style.
I don't see this insinuation by the press that there's something racist about saying a China person. Some people are Korean persons and some of them are African persons. It's not any slander there.
Except no one has ever used any of those phrases. Ever. And by the way, African Persons sounds like an album that Paul Simon made that the record label absolutely positively refused to release. And look, I know that it's tempting to write Blankenship off as a wacky outlier, but the truth is, when a party moves as far to the right as Republicans have, the fringe guys are no longer fringe. They pop up all the time, and sometimes they win. And Blankenship is not only surging in the polls right now, but he recently put out an ad doubling down on everything you've seen so far.
Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people. While doing so, Mitch has gotten rich. In fact, his China family has given him tens of millions of dollars. Mitch's swamp people are now running false negative ads against me. They are also childishly calling me despicable and mentally ill. The war to drain the swamp and create jobs for West Virginia people has begun. I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch Cocaine Mitch for the sake of the kids.
Wow. Look, for the love of God, someone at the very least, please tell Don Blankenship that he's allowed to make facial expressions when he talks, that there's no such thing as a China family, and that stealing 2 kids from a water park is not at all what people mean.